I'm running for Douglas County District Attorney because our criminal legal system here in Douglas County is broken. We live in the most progressive county and the most progressive city in the state, but our legal system is in crisis. We have a jail population that's bursting at the seams right now with folks who are only there just because they can't pay to get their way out. We have a DA's office that's been part of the problem and not part of the solution. So what I want to do as DA is run on the platform of a progressive prosecutor. I want to focus on rehabilitation instead of incarceration, and stop folks from going into that jail who don't need to be in there. It's going to save our county massive amounts of money. It's going to save resources so we can focus them on prosecuting the cases that actually need to be prosecuted. And most importantly though, it's going to keep our county safe because it's going to keep communities together. It's going to give folks access to treatment, drug treatment, mental health resources, and it's going to make Douglas County safe. So I'm a criminal defense attorney. That's all I've ever been. As soon as I got out of law school, all I wanted to do was go into criminal defense because I like fighting for the underdog. I like knowing that even in people's worst times, there's still a little bit of good in them, and that I can stand up for them in court and I can tell their stories. And that's what I do every day. I work predominantly in Douglas County. I'm in that courthouse and in courtrooms in that courthouse every single day. I know the judges, I know the prosecutors, I know the police officers on the cases, and I know how to advocate for my clients. And that's what I want to do for Douglas County. We need advocates in positions of power in our government. Folks who are willing to get into power and use that to help the marginalized communities that have been for too long forgotten in our community. So my experience as a defense attorney translates really well to that, because just like I defend my clients in court zealously, give them their constitutional rights, that's how I'll fight for justice in the courtroom in Douglas County as DA. My idea of justice is breaking down all of the barriers to access to our justice system that have existed for so many years in this country. So many folks, poor folks, people of color, have barriers to even being able to get justice in our system. They're treated disproportionately and unfairly in our system. Their rates of incarceration are much higher than white folks, and I want to break those down in Douglas County. So often our justice system is based off of barriers to access, barriers to treatment, barriers to even go into court in the first place. And so it's a fundamental idea of fairness and equity in our system, making sure that we understand that not everybody has the money to be able to defend themselves in court, and making sure that we provide robust defense for them, and that our prosecutions are fair and not based off of people's wealth or their social status. And so that's my idea of justice, and that's what I want to do in Douglas County. Well, that's my platform as a progressive prosecutor. Those changes I think are realistic and they can be done. The first one that I want to do is I want to eliminate cash bail in Douglas County. Cash bail has been a major driver of mass incarceration, and it also disproportionately affects people of color, specifically black communities and poor folks, because what we've seen is that it leads to people being in jail before even being convicted of a crime who just can't afford to buy their way out. So in Douglas County, I don't want to be a prosecutor that punishes people for not having money. I want to acknowledge that people are safer and communities are safer when family members can stay intact in communities and folks have access to their resource groups, things like their drug treatment programs and their mental health treatment programs in the community, not in the jail. Douglas County and its jail is a major driver of mass incarceration as a whole, because our county jails are front doors to mass incarceration. So one thing I want to do is eliminate cash bail. That'll decrease our jail population, save us massive amounts of money and resources, and make our community safer. I don't think anything that our DA's office is doing right now, because I think the fundamental role of a DA is to make our community safe, and our community can't be safe if we have a jail population that's bursting at the seams. What we've seen is a DA's office that has not moved into the 21st century when it comes to how you prosecute cases. It's not about the number of convictions we get or the amount of people that we warehouse in jails and prisons. It's about having a holistic approach to how we prosecute cases, meaning that accessing community resources and letting advocates and activist groups here in Lawrence lead the way on how we prosecute. Bringing folks like the Willow Domestic Violence Shelter into our office to help us better understand and empower victims and survivors in our system. I don't think those things are being done, but I think they can be, because the one thing I know about Douglas County is that we've got tons of folks in this community who do work every day to keep our community safe and healthy. And all I want to do as DA is bring them to the table and give them an opportunity to be heard.